Thanks, Tom and Linda. What a wonderful blend of East and West. It's instant transportation to another realm. So the topic this morning is a world in turmoil. And I'm sure that no one needs to be convinced that that is the case. We have geopolitical upheaval all across the globe, financial instability, deep social unrest, environmental threats. What are we to do? How in the world can we exist in a world that seems to be driven by fear without falling into fear ourselves? The big question is this the end? Is this the beginning of the so-called end times? Or is there another possibility? Is this perhaps part of a larger process of redefinition? We humans have been here in one form or another for several 100,000 years. But really, that seems like a very long time. But really, we're just beginning to inch out of childhood into adolescence as a people. For instance, if we were to take the history of the earth and collapse it into one calendar year, such that 12:01 a.m. on the 1st of January was the beginning of the formation of the planet Earth, and December 31st at midnight is right now. We can place history on that timeline, beginning on New Year's Day and ending on New Year's Eve. By that scale, the first inkling of life, the appearance of bacteria, occurred somewhere in late February. The first physical life forms that would be recognizable, the very first fishes, didn't show up until November 20th. The dinosaurs arrived about December 10th, and they disappeared on December 25th. And in the afternoon of December 31st, the first recognizable human ancestors showed up. And about 11:45 p.m. on December 31st, Homo sapiens appeared, the form that most of us take. And all of recorded history, some last 10,000 years of human history, took place between 11:59 and midnight. So all of the span of hundreds of thousands of years on a planetary scale, on a cosmic scale, is but the twinkling of an eye. So truly we are very young in terms of geological age. So is it any wonder that we're behaving like badly behaved children? No, probably not. Probably not. And what really enables us to function in a world without fear, for us to function without fear in a world that's driven by fear, is we have to have a bigger picture. We have to understand what's actually going on. And in order to understand what's actually going on, we have to ask the existential questions. Who are we? What are we doing? Where are we? And why are we doing it? Those classic questions. So, let's start with the first one. Who are we? You have two choices. You can believe that you are a chemical organism that happened by chance. And many people believe that. Much of the medical community believes, and the scientific community believes, that it was a historical accident that we're even here at all. The other side of that coin is that you can believe that you are a spiritual being having a temporary human experience. And there is no right answer, it's just what you choose. And the answer that you choose determines how you see the world. You can see it as a world where the roll of the dice determined what happened, or you can see it in view of a larger picture, that there is in fact a purpose for what seems to be going on. And I suggest that there is a purpose for what seems to be going on, and that purpose is for us spiritual beings to have an experience, to have the actual experience of who we really are, and we get to choose who we become. And that's a very important choice, because we can know that we are the light. We can know that intellectually. But until we've had the experience of being the light and bringing light into darkness, we haven't done it. The analogy I like to use is chocolate ice cream. You can be the world's greatest expert on chocolate ice cream. You can have written wikis and encyclopedia verses and all kinds of documentary evidence that you know all there is to know about chocolate ice cream. But until you stick your tongue in it, you haven't experienced it. And that's the difference, because the difference is in experience. And experience only happens in a world of duality. Because literally, you can't experience what you are unless you're in the middle of what you are not. You simply can't experience it. You don't know hot unless you've been aware that cold is there. You can't experience. It's called the world of the relative, and the world of physicality is a relative world, and it's where experience takes place. And so what we're really, really, really up to is having the experience of being the light. To experience ourselves as spiritual beings, as expressions of divinity. And we can't do that unless darkness exists. So there must be a context, a soup, that out of which we can cook ourselves into a new vision, a new way of being. And what we are on the cusp of right this minute is a gigantic leap forward by humankind. We are on the cusp of a great awakening. And it's up to us, to be the leaders of that great awakening. Because it is the fact that nothing ever changes unless a small committed group begins the process of change. Margaret Mead, the great anthropologist, said, never doubt that a small committed group can change the world, because indeed that is the only way the world has ever changed. So what we are called to do in this moment, in this time of great turmoil, of great distress, is to see it for what it is. It is the contextual field, the soup, so to speak, out of which we will bubble up a new awakening, a new consciously evolved humanity. We jolly well better, because if we don't, the chances are great that we will cease to exist as a species. Because we certainly have the tools of destruction right in our hands. And we are simply not choosing to see it that way. We are choosing to see division. We are choosing to see that all those bad guys out in the world are wrong. But what we really ideally would do is to see them for what they are. They are acting out of their own self-interest and loving themselves so much that they are doing what they think is appropriate to do. And I guarantee you, no one ever does anything that they don't see as in their best interest, in their solving their personal problems. So what does that suggest? It suggests that for us to be in the world without cowering in fear, without knowing that we're about to get bombed, we have to see it in a larger context for what it is. It simply is the process called life. Life is evolution. Evolution requires distress. Nothing evolves unless it needs to. And we can all agree that the world, humanity, needs to evolve. There is no question about that. Some weeks ago I was at the mosque on Plymouth Road for an open house. And there were hundreds and hundreds of people there, non-Muslims, supporting the Muslim community because of some language that's coming out of certain segments of the world. And one of the things that took place at this open house were brief messages from Rabbi Rob Doberson of Temple Beth Israel and George Lambertise, the head of the Interfaith Roundtable, of support and unification of our oneness. And then the Imam from Farmington Hills came and spoke. And he said, I just have never seen such a wonderful outpouring of support. And the one person that I really feel compelled to thank is Donald Trump. And he meant it. He meant it. Because Donald Trump is giving us the major ingredient for the contextual soup that we need to bubble, that we need to see what's really afoot. Because if we choose tolerance for ourselves, if we choose to be loving in all cases, we can't do that unless there is a context of something other than that.